How's everyone doing tonight? Who is a Wildcat fan? Okay, I went to K-State for a few years. Who's a KU fan? Rock Shock, I went there for a year too. How about Shockers? And that is where I finally graduated. So I did my world tour around Kansas and I went to them all. They all have their merits. And today I'm going to speak predominantly about a year and a half of my life. And actually about a year that was actually at KU. I don't know if that's any coincidence or reassurance or anything. But KU does have a very active social life, and I found that out. My life currently, the obstacles I'm facing, the decisions I made, everything boils down to for about a year and a half of my life. And I want to go over a little bit of that with you today and try and steer some of you clear of what the mistakes I made. So they told me that you're going to have prom this weekend. Who's excited for prom? Some of you are excited? Maybe there won't be a prom this weekend. Okay, well, talking to Officer Rhodes, I think you got to know a little bit about your school, a little bit about the history and the Run to Believe event. Well, I was talking with Dana, and I think we're at a very critical point in teen drinking and driving in general. Anyone want to guess how many lives drinking and driving, how many drivers will be impacted by it, just personally? Anyone want to guess? Throw out a percentage or anything? 70? 50? 1,500? 2/3 of drivers will eventually be impacted by drinking and driving. That's 2/3, meaning either they're behind the wheel, they're riding with someone that's under the influence, or they're hit by someone under the influence. 2/3, that's just an incredible number. And I couldn't believe that when I looked it up. But no, that's the number. So, going back on my story a little bit, they kind of touched on it when they introduced me. And statistically, I had every reason to succeed. I had every reason to do the right choice. And statistically, I should have. Now, I graduated from Garden Plain just down the road back in 2009. And while I was at Garden Plain, I was an NHS member, straight A student for the most part, and went to K-State on scholarship. At K-State, I was a student senator for 2 years. I was a student senator at KU as well when I transferred over to there. And came real close to being a student senator at WSU too. So I had the leadership qualities that schools and employers look for, but now I have 2 DUIs on my record. Not 1, but 2. Now, a lot of people think when you think drinking and driving, you think the worst that can happen is the end of life. Yes, that is definitely the worst that can happen. And that's a terrible outcome for anyone, especially your age. I mean, look around you guys. You've lived what? Less than a quarter of your lives? And you want to end it for drinking? What's it going to get you? Yeah, it makes you a different person drinking. Yeah, it might be more funny. Might be want to do more things that you wouldn't normally do. Not all of them bad, but a lot of them are. So, I had all that going for me. And one night at KU set me on a downfall. I call it the tailspin chapter of my life, because it's like an airplane just doing a tailspin downward, except there's no pulling up. And what happened was, yes, end of life is the worst consequence, but I'm here today to tell you about some other ones that you might not thinking about. Probably aren't. I wasn't when I was in your shoes. So I spent a night out at a friend's, and I did what I thought was the appropriate thing, and I drank for, let's see, I think I drank 6 or 7 beers, And then I took a nap for about 2.5 hours, thinking, okay, gotta get it out of my system. Woke up, I appeared fine, my friend gave me my keys, went back to my apartment at K-State. Now, there's about an hour and a half drive, and I drove it very well. I made it within 6 miles of K-State. And then the most unfortunate thing happened, and the scariest thing in my life ever happened. Now, I've been in wrecks before. I've been in wrecks at high speeds before. None of them were my fault, and none were like this though. Because I woke up, but I didn't wake up in my bed. I woke up behind the wheel of my car. Because drinking had made me really tired, and that nap wasn't good enough. So I woke up looking at a Dodge Ram pickup truck facing me, which is odd. And I'm in a little Ford Focus at the time, and going 80 miles an hour, and thinking, my life didn't flash before my eyes. I didn't have time to say a prayer, think about my friends or family. Literally, the only thing that went through my head was, oh shit. That's all I had time to think about. And because I literally thought my life was over when I woke up. I could only have been asleep for a split second, but drinking did that to me. It made me that much more tired. So okay, I take the diversion. Diversion keeps it off your record, hides it a little bit, and you pay a little bit more money. And as I'm sure you'll hear the representative from Devon James talk about today. That's good. Actually, I lucked out really good because insurance rates didn't go up terribly bad. I kept my license, never had to go to court for my license. I walked out of jail with my license. They didn't give me the normal pink or blue slip. And I thought life was good, and it was. I had a 1-year diversion, and it was set to end on August 3rd, I believe, and I went out July 4th, the night of July 4th the next year. And I went with 2 friends, and in my head, the better voice told me not to do it because I didn't plan on going out. The original plan was I was going to go to a friend's house with their family and be safe, and they'd drive me home because they always took care of us when we were there. But I had a friend coming out from Kansas City and convinced me, hey, let's go out. Let's go out. Take me out. So we went out. Again, I made it almost all the way home within 5 miles. I made it to Goddard, so pretty close to Garden Plain. And that's when I got stopped for what they said was running a red light. And even though it was a yellow light, in the end, it didn't matter. Because even though that's what you might think with the Fourth Amendment, legal search and seizure, no, the Kansas Supreme Court says when it comes to your driver's license, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how they got the information that you're driving under the influence, you're still going to lose that license. So I attorneyed up again, and possibly maybe could have kept my license. And I did everything again. I thought I was doing everything right. I'm hiring the best attorney I can get. I'm spending a fortune. One paper didn't get sent off to file an appeals motion. So I didn't get to go to court for my license, even though I took the proper steps. But it was my fault for drinking and driving and putting myself in that situation. And it just continued downhill from there. 2 driving while suspended, not wearing your seatbelt, which led to driving without a license in possession. And I've been stopped no less than 10 times in the past 3 years. Most recently for a tag light being out, which again, I didn't have proper documentation of the restricted license, which lets me drive to work and school. So I got to go to court again for that. In total, and I had a PowerPoint I wanted to show to you guys, and I had a video which I'll put on YouTube. It's a video of my second DUI arrest. But technology didn't work out today, so in total I spent on that PowerPoint slide, I think I had totaled down to about $12,000. Those billboards you see saying drink and drive, $10,000. At the first DUI I thought, oh, sure, whatever. Because I got off, I paid a flat $2,000 and plus a few court costs. But boy, does it add up when you keep abusing your privileges. Because driving isn't a right, despite what you might think. It's a privilege. And by abusing it continuously, even when I wasn't drinking and driving, even when I, got myself right in the head and got my act together, I still, not wearing a seatbelt, illegal turn, whatever, 2 driving while suspended. Grand conclusion was I spent 5 days in the Riley County Jail for driving while suspended eventually. And let me tell you, the worst thing about jail is it is so damn boring. You have no idea how bored you get in jail. And that was Riley County. I am sure Wichita jails are a little bit worse. You don't want to be there. Not even for one night. Yes, I went to Wichita jail for one night. I didn't even like being in their holding cell. The kind of people you get mixed in with, and you're automatically on their level because you chose to make a stupid decision. And there's no way to put it. It's a stupid decision to drink and drive. Now, yeah, I'm a realist. I know some of you are probably going to drink. Some of you probably already have plans this weekend. And if that is you, you can at least make proper plans ahead of time to get yourself home safe and to get your friends home safe. Look after each other too. It's not just you. It's everyone on the road. We're all in this together. So that's kind of my history. That's why I'm here today. And I was at your encore time earlier in the library, and I had a couple good questions. I'll kind of answer them again here because they're really just from left field, but they were still pretty good. Someone asked me, how did drinking and driving affect my social and love life? And that's really another book, but I can kind of touch on it. In terms of love life, again, making healthy decisions. Part of the reason why I'm going around speaking to schools isn't just about drinking and driving. Yes, that's what started it, but it's about making healthy decisions in general. And I mean, out of my 4 best friends, one is dead, accident, not his own fault, not even drinking related, but 2 have STDs, one of them being AIDS. So I was always careful in that respect, so drinking didn't really affect that decision-making process in my head because I didn't want that outcome. But it did impact me socially to an extent because and it might be a little bit reversed than what you might think when I say that, because when I was in school, when I was singing in high school, I didn't drink. I didn't party. I went to our state championship party, yes. Was offered a beer, didn't open it. But in high school, I was an outcast. I was bullied. And when I got to college, it was like a brand new me. I had so many friends. I knew everyone at a party in KU. And I was like, it's just a random house party, and I just knew everyone there. I thought, this is amazing. So socially, drinking really pushed me to an extreme limit that I didn't want to be at again. And since then, I've had to eliminate a couple of my friendship circles. A person that used to be my best friend, I don't communicate with her anymore. I grew up with her in high school. And I just saw myself, I told myself after we've been in 2 DUIs together, me having one, you having one, this friendship's done. And another question I had was, when did I decide to, what made me decide to get my life together, kind of, so to speak. And bear in mind, this all happened, about 2 years ago now. It's about 2 years in the making, this whole planning for doing my outreach program. But I lost a friend, Paul Lopez, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for him. Because he was the greatest guy on earth. When he died, I owed him $40 for gas when my car ran out outside the road. And he didn't die on any fault of his own, but he was cleaning his handgun, and there was a bullet lodged in the chamber, and went off and shot him in the chest. His body wasn't discovered until a few years later. And when he died and I saw a good life taken and not being able to fulfill any positive purpose beyond what he's already done, I said, why should I waste my life drinking and driving? Why should I waste my life with excessive partying and making stupid decisions when, in my opinion at the time, I didn't deserve to live and he did. So I'm told there's about 5 minutes left, and I want to open up to as many questions, and I'll give out my information, and I'm on Facebook and everything. My campaign is called 1 + 1 = Too Many. So I've been in all you guys' shoes. I've been through it all. I've been suicidal, been depressed. I've lost a best friend, done the stupid things. I'm there for you guys. If you guys need it, reach out to me and on Facebook or my email, and that information will be provided. But do we have any questions? No questions? I see one. Do I still drink? That's a great question. Yes, I'll be honest, yeah, I do. I do it very modestly. Quitting cold turkey is, it can sometimes be a recipe for its own disaster, and it's not probably a good reason, but I wanted to prove I was above alcohol. I wanted to prove that I could control it. I wanted another second chance at using my privilege, just like driving. I wanted to prove that I can have one beer and I can quit after one beer. I wanted to win. So yes, I do, and I've been winning that battle. Any more questions? Black shirt. Great question, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Job opportunities have been totally destroyed. That's not, and it's not putting it lightly, but it's being real blunt and honest. Had a great job opportunity in Houston, Texas, where I'm from, and went through several rounds of interviews. Everything looked good. We talked numbers, talked who do I want to work for out of the 5 of the people in the room. A week and a half later, boom, no reason, no longer considered. And I'm sure it's because they pulled my record. Air Force, boom, gone. That was actually a dream of mine. My brother, he ships off in a month, and I wanted to be there with him. I wanted to be flying a plane or doing linguistic intelligence work, because I know I spent years learning languages, and that's gone. And that's a very good question, thank you. What have I learned from this? Don't be stupid. And I know that sounds really blunt and it sounds really cliche maybe even, but there are right decisions and there are wrong decisions, and all of you are old enough to make the right decisions. No one's forcing you to drink, and no one's forcing you to drive after you drink if you do decide to drink. Anyone else? Okay, great shirt.
Do you have your license?
Do I have my license? Yes. Yes, I went through a strong, heavy period of just restricted license, which sounds like it sucks because it does suck. Being like a 15-year-old again, only being able to drive to work and school. And, but yeah, I have my license now, and let me tell you, it got pushed back every time I had another driving while suspended. It got delayed and delayed and delayed, but yes, it's back. I see a hand, maybe someone over there? Okay. Who do we got over here? I could go back and change.
If you could go back and change what happened, would you?
If I could change what happened, would I? Honestly, probably not. And I'm going to give you an honest answer. I think making those mistakes has given me the opportunity to stop other people from making them. And I think a lot of people that make those mistakes, they don't come out and speak to kids. They don't share their story, and they don't try and make a difference in lives. And I think maybe I made those mistakes for a reason, even though yes, it sucked, and I don't want anyone else to make those mistakes. But I'm glad to be out here today, and I have virtually no regrets about my past because it made me who I am today and made me smarter and stronger. None of my DUIs cost anyone their life. And I'm very, very happy to say that. No one was injured. Well, I have chronic lower back pain now, but I was in a few accidents before the DUI, but it made it really worse. So, but no one was ever killed or injured. Anyone else? Good. All right, well, thank you guys. I enjoyed being here today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. My name is Richard James, and one of the reasons God created me is I relentlessly pursue and sue the heck out of drunk drivers. And if you're going to drive drunk this weekend, I'm coming for you. The cops arrest you, and they fine the heck out of you, and they mess up your life, and they get all kinds of charges. I sue you and bleed your insurance company, because we need to get drunk drivers off the road, and I'll tell you why. And then, if you're under 18, I'm going to sue your parents too. And if you let one of your friends drive and you give them the keys to their car and you know they've been drinking, I'm going to sue you and your friend. And here's why. Humorous, and I appreciate that. But here's why. About this time last year, the weather was great. I was in my backyard, and I was sitting there, and I was pushing my two kids on the swings. I had a 6- and an 8-year-old at the time. My phone rang. It was an afternoon, a lot like this. I picked up the phone. It was the office. My wife was gone. So I took a second with my kids, and I was out, and they said, "Hey, Richard, we need you to go to a house in West Wichita." And I said, "Can you send one of the other attorneys? I mean, gee, there's 10 in the office. Can somebody else go?" And the lady that answered the phone, that was handling the phone calls at my office, said, "No, Richard, I really need you to go." And I said, "Well, why is that? Why am I the only one?" And she said, "This is a family that's scared, and a family that is panicking about how they're going to pay their bills, and they need somebody to love them and pray with them as much as they need a lawyer." And I probably fit that role a little closer than anybody else in our office. And I said, "Hey, can Dustin go?" That's the Devon. I said, "No, Dustin's on the other side of town." So I got somebody to watch my kids. I called my wife real quick, said, "Hey, I need to run. I got to go." And so I sat in a house not unlike your house, and not unlike your house, and not unlike your house. And I sat with a kid who had just come back from Kansas State. It was May. He'd finished his semester, and he was riding back from Kansas State with his dad. And I don't know if any of you have ever helped your older brothers or sisters load up your dorm room and then unpack a dorm room, or some of you are getting ready to do that in a few months. That's a lot of work. And so his dad came up with him and helped him unload his dorm room and bring it home. And as they were driving home, he was sleepy, my client, the young kid, and so he leaned his chair back and he asked his dad, "Are you okay to drive?" He said, "Oh yeah." He said, I'm wide awake. I slept fine last night." So he drove back, and as they're coming south on Highway 50, a young lady, not very different from many of your ages, came over into their lane and ran into their truck and hit his dad's truck, and it rolled over and crushed the cab, laid flat on it. Remember, he had his seat laid back, so he didn't get crushed. But his dad got crushed, and after a minute or two of waking up, he kind of came to. He looked over, and he saw his dad in autopsy photos that I hope none of you ever have to see. In fact, I have them locked on my desktop so none of my staff have to see him, because it's so tragic, and it's messed me up to see this kid's dad. And that kid saw it live. And that kid has served in Iraq since then, or prior to that, he was GI Bill. After that, served in Iraq and watched people die. And you know what he said to me? He said, it's one thing to watch people you fought with die, and it's another thing to watch your dad die. And he tried to call out to his dad, and he said, Dad, are you okay? Are you okay? And he kept calling out to his dad, and all he could hear was his dad gurgling, because his dad was asphyxiating from positional asphyxia. The blood was getting in his throat and he couldn't breathe. So as I sat down with his family, and I sat down at their table, I said, where would you like for me to sit? They said, don't sit in that chair, because nobody's sat in that chair since our dad died. So I didn't sit in that chair, I sat in this chair, and I said, tell me about what happened. They told me the story, and they said, we think she was a distracted driver. And sure enough, they pulled her cell phone, and she was texting at the time. Now I bet most of you have made the decision, I'm hoping, that you're not going to drink this weekend because you don't want to meet my friend the officer over here. But I bet a few of you are going to be driving your cars, and you're going to put your cell phone in your hand, and you're going to think you're dictating to your friends, and you're going to think that you're not going to be distracted, and you're going to get that text back, and you're going to be unconcerned about it, and you're not going to realize that if you're actively participating in texting, you're operating a vehicle with the equivalence of the legal limit, 0.08. And you're as bad a driver as someone who's blowing a 0.08. Then to make matters worse and more difficult for the family, they took the young girl's cell phone that had hit him, and they pulled her blood, and she had THC in her system, which is marijuana. And so not only does he live with the vision of his dad suffocating in front of him, but he also lives with the fact that it was completely unnecessary. Do you know what she was texting on her cell phone? You know what the crap she was writing on her cell phone? She wrote to her boyfriend, "You're a worthless piece of," fill in the letters. That was so important for her to text that stupid message that she killed my client's dad. And then she was so above the law, it didn't matter that she chose to smoke some marijuana before she got on the road that day. Guys, it's not messing around. If you didn't think of your dad, and you didn't think what you'd feel like if you watched your dad in that situation, or your mom, or somebody you care about, you got no heart, and you got no concept of life. I'm praying the majority are going to choose not to drink and drive. And I'm praying that when you get your cell phones, girls, put them in your purse. Don't get them out. Guys, put them in your pocket. Don't keep them in these pockets up here. Keep them down here. Because I'm telling you, if you're drinking and driving, or loaning somebody a car, and you know they've been drinking, or you're going to text and drive, he's going to come and get you first. And I'm going to come after you and your family, and I'm going to bleed your insurance company, and I'm going to go get everything I can for my family. Because you know what, that kid, doesn't matter how much money I put in his pocket, I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to bring his dad back. And so no amount of money is enough. Don't be the next one. Thanks for the time. God bless. Enjoy prom.
Hey guys, I'm not excited about following this wonderful speaker here, but I will go ahead and give it a shot. First of all, I asked Dana, would she be okay with me talking about my personal reasons for agreeing to come today, and she said that would be fine. When I was a high school senior and it was prom time, I didn't get to take my boyfriend with me because he'd been killed by a drunk driver just about 6 months prior to prom. And that was 37 years ago, and I still remember it. And thank goodness the laws have changed enough, because I remember going to his funeral, and the young man who killed him was at the funeral because he was a classmate. And back in 1978 and 79, the laws were such that they didn't even deal with it very much. So what he's telling you is so incredibly important. So you've heard the aspect from the legal world, what you have to lose. You've heard from Mr. Davis, all the different things that can happen to you because of making some really poor decisions. And he hit on the part that really impacts what I do for a living right now. If you get a DUI, You will, especially if you're convicted of a felony, you didn't hit on that, but some DUIs, is it second or third, it can be a felony. If you get a felony, we won't hire you for any position in our district. You can't clean our floors, you can't cook our food, you can't teach our kids, you can't drive a bus. You will never get a job anywhere in a school district. And Mr. Davis also hit on the military. My daughter's in the Navy, and she knows some people who have done a lot of years in the Navy, and they get a DUI and they're kicked out. If you ever have one prior to, they won't let you in. I was telling someone today out at WSU that I was coming here to speak to you guys, and he said, make sure you tell the students, I have a nephew who just finished KU in December. He was flown to California for an engineering dream of, just a dream job. And he gets there, and he's just like Mr. Davis. He's close to getting the job, and they find out he's had one DUI, and they just sent him back to Kansas. So his dream job from a prior DUI was not allowed. And so it's very important you guys think about these things. And I got to go with Mr. Davis. As much as I would love to hope none of you would ever drink, because you're under the legal limit, you know that, right? You shouldn't have any alcohol in your system. 0.08 doesn't matter, correct, sir? If you're under 18 or under 21, 0 is all that's acceptable. So 0, that means you can't. So you just have to really be making some good decisions. Don't think high school is everything. Don't think high school is your best 4 years. Don't do something when you're in high school that impacts your ability for the rest of your life to meet the dreams that you've set for yourself for your life, okay? I remember the 70s when I was in high school, and you think that this is it, and this, you know, this is all the fun you're ever going to have, and different things like that. It is not. Everything you do, make sure it doesn't wear you like a tattoo, okay? Make decisions that you can live past. When he mentioned the thing too, if you do decide, make sure you have, I don't mean to rhyme, make sure you have a ride, all right? So if you decide you're going to drink, make a decision to help the rest of us, okay? I can finally talk about Jeff 37 years later without crying. I don't think his mom can. I know his 5 brothers and sisters were devastated, and I can't even begin to tell you how it impacted their entire family. So don't be selfish, be selfless, make the right decision. Do it because of other people, but also do it because you want your future to be yours. I don't know what you guys plan to do, but if you want to join the military, you want to go to law school, you want to cut hair. You can't cut hair in the state of Kansas if you have a felony conviction. You can't get a state license. And even though once you're in a position you think, oh, I'm good now, no, that's not true. If we have an employee and I get a report that they have had a DUI, it really, really gets ugly. It's so embarrassing, and I'm so glad Mr. Davis was our guest speaker here today too. He is being very brave by being here today and telling you guys, and he's sharing, and he's paying it forward. Don't do this. A lot of people make mistakes, but some mistakes, are, as he mentioned, are very difficult to get past. So I really hope you guys have a really fun prom. I hope you have a great weekend. I want everybody to live through it, and I love that he also hit on texting. I see people in here texting while he's talking. I think that's ironic. Pay attention to the world, and really pay attention when you're driving, and take care of each other, okay? All right, that's mine.
All right, first of all, thank you to everyone who put work into this. You guys are very blessed. I can tell you 10 years ago now that I was in your seats, we did not have this kind of program or even this specific assembly. And I mean, I really hope you guys are paying attention right now, especially to the stories you've heard. I was getting choked up over there. And I know many of you guys right now in this room may have already been impacted by an event like that. I do want to say too that, yes, this is the year of my 10-year high school reunion, but I wanted to point that out because we will be missing some individuals that would be there if it wasn't for drunk driving. Unfortunately, they have passed away, whether it was drunk driving themselves or of someone else that had impacted them. So I want you to really relish these stories and take them to heart and really just put yourself in the position of, his client that had to watch that horrid tragedy just right in front. So I want to thank them for sharing those stories too. Okay, so I want to get to know who's in the room just a little bit. How many of you guys do plan to attend college after high school? Raise your hand. Whether it's a 4-year, public, private, community college. Okay, what about a technical school? Okay, any kind of certification program, great. Okay, what about entering the military, armed forces? Awesome, that's wonderful. All right, how many of you guys plan to immediately enter the workforce in some capacity? Okay, and then for anyone who has not raised their hand for maybe any of those, how many of you guys do plan to personally continue to grow and become an active and stay an active member of society? Yeah, everyone should be. No, that's great. Okay, so hopefully that in some capacity reached everyone. So I want to ask you too, and you guys can raise your hand from raised, but if you guys were to pitch an elevator speech, so you're talking to someone and maybe for a job opportunity, and maybe you're looking to write a college resume, college essay, college interview, job interview. How many of you guys would put, oh yes, I have an outgoing personality and that really helps me communicate with students? I'm not going to call you out, so if you have an outgoing personality and you think that's a great trait, raise your hand. What about putting charisma at the top? All right, what about being a critical thinker or a strategic thinker? Man, I think this side here is beating you guys in the job application market here. Okay, what about being organized? Okay, thank you. All right, how about being a felon? Hey now. Okay, that was not meant to be sarcastic, but it really was just to make you think about the actions that you're taking now and what you're choosing to do now. It stays with you, no matter in what capacity. It's hard to follow all of these great speakers up and mention something new that they haven't already stated, but this really is important when you're looking to apply to colleges. So as far as the college goers, how many of you guys are looking to a very selective university? So you're going to have to really work hard to get in. Okay. So for those of you that are looking to go to college, especially those that are looking to go to selective colleges, they're going to ask the question, have you been convicted of, really, they mention in parentheses, crime, felonies, anything. And some applications it's required, some it's not, but I will tell you that you need to be honest. And when you're honest on those, they're going to flag it, and then they're going to want to know the whole story. And that's just for the compassionate schools with a compassionate admissions office. A lot of schools, they throw out your application because they see you as a safety risk. And that goes also for job applications. If they don't believe you're going to be able to acquire a license or a certificate, they're going to rule you out. They don't see you as a good investment. So I really challenge you guys to think about those things now in preparation for that. Okay, one more question for you guys. How many of you guys plan to pay for college 100% out of your own pockets? Okay, I need to come take lessons or some pointers from these guys up here in the back. How many of you guys raise your hand over here? 100% out of your own pocket. I hope you guys have been saving since you were like 2. And if you have been, that's great. So how many of you guys plan to apply for some sort of scholarships or financial aid programs? Good. Good. So hopefully you guys have really been working on your resumes, your activity charts, your essays, for scholarships, again, they're going to see you as not a healthy investment. And they want to give those scholarships, those funds, to students they know they can count on. So, again, you guys truly owe it to yourselves to just completely avoid the situations that put you in a tempting situation. I know a lot of times it's the really outgoing, the popular kids, the ones that really have everything going for them. They just get caught up in a wrong decision, bad timing, bad judgment, and on the opposite end. Maybe you're struggling with that, maybe you're wanting to fit in, maybe you feel pressured to do that. Any end of the spectrum, the temptation is there. And I will tell you, even from 10 years ago, whenever I was in these seats, the temptation hasn't changed. But I can tell you, the decisions that the students made, I'm really excited to go back to this reunion, but you will be able to see the outcomes. 10 years isn't a long time out of high school yet, but it's huge that the decisions that we made in high school, and really, for that matter, in college, had a positive or negative effect in who we are today. So again, when thinking about college, the workforce, just be cognizant of the decisions you're making now and know that just like the positive ones that you're working your butts off for to put on your resume, the negative ones have a lasting effect too. So I really do hope you guys all have a wonderful time this weekend. You will make lifelong memories tonight, or this weekend. Is it tomorrow? That's the actual promise. But I just encourage you to make sure that they're good ones, that they're good memories, because you don't want to end up being a story like they had mentioned earlier. So thank you guys for your time. Have a wonderful weekend.
I forget to talk to you guys very much about what I do. So far, you just know I'm Nurse Dana. I work at the school, right? I tell you to go back to class, right? Okay? Or I tell you to call your parents and just go home. That's enough. I'm done. But here, I've been a nurse for 15 years. And I started out in intensive care as an ICU nurse. I want to talk to you guys about is the one thing I saw a couple years ago when I had to go after graduation. It wasn't here at the school because we're pretty good for that, but it was at a different school. I had to go in and dialyze a patient, 18-year-old, just graduated from high school, went to his first party. He had meth in his system. He had weed in his system. He was way over the limit on alcohol. They found him on the floor of a hotel room. For 4 days he laid on that floor, stripped naked. It's funny, but it would be funny if it happened to you. Where were his friends? Where was his family? Where was this poor guy's support system? They weren't there. He was brought to the hospital as a John Doe. 18 years old, just graduated, went to a graduation party that night. He's a vegetable now. 2 years. All he does is lay there. He doesn't blink his eyes. He doesn't talk to you. He can't think. What's his parents gonna do about that? He can't go to college. He sure as heck don't have a girlfriend. Right? There's no grandchildren after that. There's nothing there. It's their son. There's nobody to carry on their name. So take the time to think about what you do. It's important. You're important. Life's important. And you don't want Nurse Dana seeing you in the other hospital. And the sad thing is he's just going to lay there until his body finally gives out, until his heart and his brain gives out, and his lungs. You guys have any questions about that? Yes, ma'am. We were able to contact the family. The police came in and helped identify him. And we were able to contact the family, and they came and they saw him, and they said that that was his, that was their son. And we, you know, when you are in really bad trouble like that, like laying on the floor passed out like that, we put a tube down your throat. You've seen it, the breathing machine? Because to help him breathe a little bit so we could try to get him back and get him out of that vegetative state, out of that coma. And usually we use massive drugs to sedate you because you know, you try sticking your finger on your throat, yeah, you gag and cough. So at that point he was so drugged up that we didn't even have to use anything to stick the breathing tube down him and put him on the ventilator. So we could try some other methods to get him there. So anybody else have any questions? Okay.
All right, thank you. Today I'm going to run my drunk driver through field sobriety test and kind of explain to you the process that happens before we get sued and your family gets sued. And I want to make sure that all of you understand how very important and how tragic that this situation can turn into. The reason that this is even happening and that we are talking about it is because of Kylie and Kyle. And on I-70 mile marker 210 on March 23rd, 2011, they were killed by a 27-year-old drunk driver from Texas. This was the third time that he had been arrested or should have been arrested for DUI. He should have never been on the road, and this situation should have never, ever happened. You could be that gentleman that did this, or you could be Kylie or Kyle. It is very important to understand how tragic this can be for everyone's family. And for, you, it just ruins your life. So I want you to not take this as a learning experience as far as knowing how to do a DUI or how to get out of a DUI. I want you to understand that you call somebody to pick you up if you do. Because I don't care if you're in your driveway or on your way home or that you just had to. I don't care. You go to jail and it ruins your life. So I'm going to go through the process that would happen if I had stopped my drunk Mr. Berrigan here. Sorry, the mic messed up. But what would happen, and it doesn't matter what it's for. It could be a tag light out, a headlight out. You're speeding. But I'd make contact with them. How are you today? You had something to drink tonight, haven't you?
Maybe.
Okay, well I smell an odor of alcohol coming from your breath, okay? I'm going to do some testing on you to make sure that you're safe to drive. Is that all right?
Yes, it's all right.
Okay. So what I do is he gets out of the car, I smell an odor of alcohol on his breath. I'm not born yesterday, I know what alcohol smells like, or I know what beer smells like. Everybody does. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to check your eyes, okay? Are you wearing contacts?
Yes.
Okay. The contacts aren't going to affect anything, but I just want you to look at that pin. Can you see that pin?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to move it side to side. I want you to follow it with your eyes and your eyes only, and do not move your head. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So what I do is I check his eyes for a thing called nystagmus. It's involuntary jerking of the eyes, and unfortunately you can't make it not happen. If you've consumed alcohol, it's going to show up. And depending upon the level of which you're intoxicated, the worse the nystagmus will be. You can Google it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's about 83 seconds that it takes to complete the horizontal gaze nystagmus testing. That's going to tell me already. I've graduated the police academy in 2003. so I've had the opportunity to deal with a few drunk people. That will tell me already, I know that he's going to jail. But unfortunately, in the great state of Kansas, we can't use that test in court. We can only use it to make an arrest. So the next test that I'm going to do is called the walk and turn. What I want you to do is I want you to come over here. Do you see that line right there? Okay. What I want you to do is put your left foot on the line, just like this. Place your right foot heel to toe in front of it, just like this, and stand in that position with your arms to your side, and don't do anything until I tell you to. Do you understand? Yeah. All right. When I tell you to begin, you're going to take 9 heel to toe steps down that line. You're going to make a turnaround. I'll show you how to do it. You're going to take 9 heel to toe steps back down the line. During the test, you're going to keep your eyes focused on your toes. You're going to keep your eyes focused on your toes. You're going to count your steps aloud. Keep your arms to your side, and don't stop the test until you've completely finished it. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like. You're standing, here's my imaginary line with my left foot on the line, right foot heel to toe in front of it. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and so on until you get to 9. Leaving your lead foot on the line, take a small series of steps just like this, and then take 9 heel to toe steps back down the line. Like I said, watch your eyes, count your steps, keep your arms to your side, and don't stop the test until you've completely finished it. Do you understand what I want you to do? You can begin.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Did he pass? Okay. So, when you hear the people say that I couldn't do that sober, you know that that's not right. You just saw it. It's possible. All right. For the next test, what I want you to do is stand just like you are. Keep your arms to your side. Don't do anything until I have told you to begin. Do you understand? All right. For this test, what I want you to do is you're going to lift a foot of your choice. I don't care which one it is, left or right. You're going to keep it parallel to the ground. Keep both legs straight, arms to your side, and count aloud just like this. 1001, 1002, 1003, and so on until I tell you to stop. Once again, foot of your choice. The bottom parallel to the ground. Point your toe forward. It helps you do that. Both arms to your side, count aloud, just like I said. Don't worry about the number that you count until you just continue counting until I tell you to stop. All right? Do you know exactly what I want you to do? Okay. When I tell you to begin, go.
1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
You don't go forever. You can stop. I don't tell you what you're going to count to because you're just supposed to keep your leg elevated. I'll tell you when to put your foot down, but it's not going to be an eternity. But as you see there, it's possible, so I couldn't do that sober is no excuse. After these tests, let's say that my drunk guy here is actually drunk. I believe that he is impaired, and so I'm going to ask him a few questions. These are things that are important for you to know, but also things that the law has set forth that makes it easier for me to do my job to prove that you're impaired, because we don't want you on the road. So I've got to advise you about 3 things. First of all, you have no right to consult with an attorney regarding whether to submit to a test. Refusal to submit to the test is an infraction. I can write you a ticket for it, or I can add it to any charges that you might have already. Even if you agree to take this test, I still can ask you to do additional tests later. Do you understand?
Yes.
Will you take the test?
Yes.
All right. Officer Rhodes is going to bring me what I call preliminary breath test. Have a round of applause. Thank you. All right. Will you actually stand by? Come back. I need you to hold my paperwork.
I'm good for that.
Okay. What this is a preliminary breath test that estimates your breath alcohol content. It is not the legal test that is required for your driver's license. So, if you refuse this test, it's an infraction, and I can give you a ticket for it or add it to your charges, but it is not the legal bound test for the driver's license. Anyway, I put a tube on the instrument, and he would provide a breath sample, and it would estimate just what his breath alcohol is. It will pick up anything. So, For persons under 21, the legal limit is actually 0.02 because they give you that leeway just a little bit. So if you're under 21, it's 0.02 to 0.079, and any person under, or I'm sorry, 21 and over is 0.08 or greater. All right, what you're going to do is you're going to blow really hard. Just blow till I tell you to stop. Harder, 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 harder. Okay, very good. So then it will display the reading, which he is at a 0.090. So that means that he is going to jail tonight for DUI.
Okay.
Okay. He really showed zeros, but I've just played. So what would happen is that I would arrest him and he would be transported to the Sedgwick County Jail. There is no more. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your car gets impounded. You go to jail. I put you in an intox room and I ask you to take another breath test. I read you an implied consent advisory. That implied consent basically tells you that if you refuse to take that test, I take your driver's license for a year. If you choose to take the test and you blow over 0.15, I take your license for a year. If you are 0.08 to 0.149, then they do all kinds of stuff. They make you have an interlock device on your car, they take your license for 30 days, and it's just a mess. But more importantly, for people under 21, it actually is anything over 0.08 is automatically a year. So anybody that's over, well, you wouldn't be, so it doesn't matter. But it's very important for you to understand that, of how important it is. But that's the process that we go through to make the determination if you are, or we believe we have probable cause to prove DUI. So that's it. Thank you for my drunk today. If you guys have any questions, I'll be right over here.
I have a question for you. We say 18 and older, that's what we would do.
Yeah.
And maybe this is for
I'll take that.
age too as well. But what happens if you're our age and it happens? Their age, meaning under 18.
Oh, if you're under 18? Oh, okay. I actually was going to touch on that. In the state of Kansas, 14 years old, when you can get your instructional permit, you're considered an adult driver. So 14 to wherever, it doesn't matter. So it's a traffic offense, you're treated as an adult offender. So the only difference in the under 18 juvenile DUI is where you're booked into jail, because you still go to jail.